Well, hello, it's Tuesday, and it's not Rectember. We said for a long time that August appeared to be front-running the Rectember, and literally more than half of the losses of August have already been erased in just 2 days. We're going to get into it. And we're going to talk about, I wrote a Substack yesterday because I saw cracks in the fiat system. And I know we shouldn't have schadenfreude about fiat collapsing, but that's why I make videos, is because we expect it to collapse, and that's why we have hard assets. And there's so much to talk about. Thank you all for coming. Sorry for being a bit late. Crazy busy day. Sean D, T&D must be in bed. Hope she sleeps well. And Kate, let's go. I'm going to make this fast if I can juggle all my little pieces. And this one's called Gold Runs, Bitcoin Next, perhaps. And of course, not financial advice ever. And a big thank you to everybody on Patreon. This is from Bluegrass. Thanks, James. So happy I joined Patreon. So happy you're there too. Let's get into the ugly news. We always have the unlocks. It's the same crap every week, so I'll spend 10 seconds on it. ENA, IMX, Axie Infinity, Arbitrum, ApeCoin. It's all the usual suspects. Say is there. 2% Aptos. Yeah. Like literally these guys just drop 2%. They think if they do 2% a week, 2.2% a week, nobody will notice, but we notice every week. Anyway, be careful of tokenomics, very important. Let's get into some bad news. And this one reminds me a little bit about 2021, which is actually could be construed as a good or bad sign, but everybody's complaining now about ETH fees are spiking. Now $131 to do a little transaction. Somebody had to try and move $1,000 and it cost them $131, and they didn't have enough money to pay for it. Again, we live in a gasless world. Yeah, no gas. I won't mention the chain where everything is pretty much gasless. But anyway, that's enough of that. We'll get back to this later as well. We're going to talk about a new series called Gravity, because I will continue to talk about gravity until gravity starts to work. And this was part what triggered the actual paper yesterday. We'll add a link to it above as well. It's been read 30,000 times, so people are interested. But this is good for Bitcoin. Basically, everybody is giving up on debt, buying treasury bonds, whatever you want to call them, etc. But gold's share of global reserves is at the highest level in 30 years, and it's even going higher today. Gold is experiencing unprecedented global demand, and the dollar decline, yep, it's at its lowest level since the 1990s. And that's all she wrote. But the point is, nobody wants fiat anymore. And things are changing fast. I'm seeing cracking signs in Japan, in France, in the United Kingdom. Shout out to our friends in the UK. I hope you don't have a big bag of fiat in your bag. Of course you don't if you're watching this show. Anyway, the other thing is M2. Another thing is a little bit concerning for some people. I don't think it's worried because Bitcoin spiked today because gold is spiking. We'll get to that in a second. But you can see here the big decoupling between the yellow global M2, which hits new all-time highs, US M2, new all-time highs as well. And gold is languishing, but not for long. This is why I'm so bullish. I do believe in this correlation. It's not hocus pocus. It works. I've been looking at it for 8 years. Yeah, it works. Let's get into the good news and talk about this seasonality. After all that, August was down. Let me get these numbers right. 6.43%. And September's already up over 3%. Half of the loss of August has been erased in just 2 days. In fact, most of it today as well, because Bitcoin, as we speak, get the real-time quote, is up a nice $2,100 at about $111,300. A lot of people were hoping for a buying opportunity under 100K. It looks like that's not going to happen. Don't hold your breath, folks. Fear and greed, pretty much the same as last week in neutral. 49 hasn't done much. And the week itself, in Bitcoin terms, ETH fell nearly 3% against Bitcoin. XRP fell 2%. Solana up 7-8%. And everything else kind of all over the place. Hype up, it beat Bitcoin a bit as well. And in dollar terms, you can see here, Sol, very good week, up 9.6%. Binance up 0.89%. ETH down 2%. Bitcoin up 1%. etc. It's Cardano down too. We'll talk a bit about Cardano as well. But I do want to talk about gravity because we have seen Ethereum go on a crazy tear, and I was very excited by that. I think it's great because it's the second biggest crypto. When that goes up, it's going to float all our boats. But I will talk about a new thing called gravity. And now we're beginning to see, at last, Solana is catching up. It was quite frustrating for the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks or so, because Ethereum was on a complete rip. Broken new all-time high, mean reverted back down pretty fast. But now we see Solana catching up, and people begin to talk more about it. But I just want to refresh some transactions. These are the up-to-date live transactions. Ethereum did 1.57 million transactions in the last 24 hours. Solana did 70 million. So that's a 4,245% difference. Daily active users. Solana has over 4 million. Ethereum has an eighth of that. The activity on chain, the average ETH users is 2.9. Remember, if they're doing 2.9 transactions and each one is costing $131, that's got to be painful. I'll just be very frank in this day and age. And it's also very slow, but we won't talk about that. Fees. That's the average fee there, $5. But sometimes if you need to get something done or in a hurry, you'll have to pay a lot more. But Solana is over 5 million % cheaper in terms of fully diluted market cap over daily transactions. Ethereum trades at $336,000. Solana's only $1,800. Again, 18,500% difference. And fully diluted market cap over daily active users, 3,069% difference. These are just radical differences. And gravity will work. I promise you that. It's just going to take some time for TradFi to figure stuff out. You just got to be patient on this one. Again, I'm as confident as I was about Cardano in 2021. So in the same way as this, that the data doesn't match up. Hope people understand what I'm saying. Let's look at some money flow. And here, digital assets saw $2.5 billion flow in last week. That was nice. It was a beautiful recovery. Remember, sometimes there can be a dipperoonie for a long time, like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, negative flows, but it's so nice to see it just being 1 week and then rebound. Again, going back to gold, which we'll talk about in a second, people are looking for alternatives. People are looking for hard assets. And now it's become very urgent. It's like somebody's ringing the bell. Houston, we have a problem. Let's look at the flows by asset. And a big shout out to CoinShares as well for this great work every week that I've been using for years. Ethereum continued to outperform Bitcoin, 1.4 billion versus 750 million, basically nearly double. Solana, 177 million. XRP, 134 million. I'll talk about the XRP dream in a minute too. And the rest is pretty much, doesn't matter. It's crumbs. Now, a little bit of on-chain data. Okay, this is from Axel Adler. We had a 12.8 was the maximum drawdown %. But what's interesting is when you go all the way back to 2022, late 2022, the drawdowns typically are, that tends to be like a support line for most of the drawdowns, around 12, 13%, maybe 14%. Rarely did we get 25, 30%. We only hit 30% twice since 2022. So the wicked drawdowns are gone, as are probably some of the volatility in the whole space. But in this bull cycle, again, pullbacks after local peaks have clustered in that 10, 12, 13, maybe 15% range, while deeper corrections have typically extended only above 20% twice. Okay, so we're closer to the moderate zone. A lot of lack of volatility compared to the previous years of Bitcoin. And again, it's not a big deal. An old whale can dump a truckload of Bitcoin. It burps, it has a hiccup, it gets a little bit anxious for a few days, and then it mean reverts. And that's all she wrote. Not bad. Let's look at the cost basis map. Some interesting stats here too. Always good to check in on. Short-term holder cost basis is 107,400. And this time, last Tuesday, I said that typically is solid support in a bull run. And like clockwork, it was solid support. Boom, bang, bounced right off that red line. The other key number is here. The US ETF cost basis is 78,900. That's the average cost that all the US ETF buyers have. So they're all in profit, a lot of them. MicroStrategy cost basis 73 grand. Long-term holder cost basis 35,000. Shout out to the long-term holders that are sitting on 300% profits, 3Xs. So all good in those stats. But again, always watch that little red line. It's magical. The short-term holder realized price, cost basis, very important. Now we had some music today. I said musical news. It's late. Hungry for lunch. The SEC and the CFTC have issued a joint statement. They are now going to allow registered exchanges to enable the trading of spot crypto assets. Think New York Stock Exchange, think NASDAQ, think Chicago Board of Exchange, think CME, etc. Will all have spot trading for Bitcoin, ETH, and other things. And again, the floodgates are opening. Crypto is now no longer fringe. The dominoes are falling. You'll soon be able to trade this, maybe even on a place like Vanguarded in the future. Who knows? Could be nice. But US is leading the way, bashing down the barriers to crypto. Great for us. Another thing that's great for us too is Truflation. I touched on this briefly yesterday on DCA, but Truflation hit the magical 2% of inflation, which is not bad. Again, is some little corrections that sometimes tie this in. But when you compare it to the US government reported 2.7%, which is always flawed, we're there. And this is good for Powell because of the magical connection between interest rates and Bitcoin performance. Remember this chart? I've shared this probably twice in the last 2 weeks. This is what happens when the interest rates get cut, the price goes up. Normally, interest rates are cut when there's a catastrophe. There is no catastrophe. Markets are at all-time highs. Crypto is nearly at all-time highs. What's going to happen next will be unique and historical. Price will go up. Again, it's really, really good data. Now, today, I spent more time looking at gold in the last 2 or 3 days than probably have in my entire life. But it's interesting because that's our little canary in the mine. We had gold ripping today for breakouts. It keeps pushing higher. Okay, this is not exactly a scarce asset, but it is on fire. And it's on fire because of the reasons I mentioned in the bad news piece. Everybody is worried about fiat. Nobody wants treasuries. Central banks are stacking gold. They can't get enough of it. And there will come a time when they realize there is a better gold. We'll be waiting here for that moment. It's coming. But that's crazy. Now, why do we care about gold? It's because we care about Bitcoin. This is, again, another chart. This is the chart of pink is the Bitcoin price. Gold is the blue price. Every single time gold hits a new all-time high, 30 days later, Bitcoin does too. Look at the deviation in the gainers between the pink and the blue. Blue is going to the moon. Pink has come off the moon, but will return to going to the moon. That's just how it works. We may have to wait another 30 days, but it's okay. I'm very patient. Now, while the gold bugs are ecstatic and they're trolling people like Michael Saylor. In fact, Peter, I won't even mention his name, don't want to give him oxygen, had a very nasty comment under Michael Saylor's post today. It's like, there's no need for that. There's no need for that in the world. No need at all. Anyway, what Peter forgets is how Bitcoin is demonetizing gold rapidly. And yes, while gold hits a new all-time high and the gold bugs are excited, when you compare gold divided by Bitcoin, well, we are nowhere near any new all-time high because guess what? Bitcoin is eating gold alive. Just calculate how many ounces of gold you need to trade for a Bitcoin. Do it every year for the last 10 years. And that's the chart you see right there. Now, another visual, easier to view, easier to understand rather than a pair chart is the actual 5-year CAGR, compound annual growth rate performance of a couple of assets here. And I love CAGRs. Remember, a CAGR is not an annual return. It's a compounded return. So simple terms, if you make 10% a year for 5 years, you don't make 50%. You make more like 90%. So it's a lot higher because it just compounds. The miracle of compounding, as Einstein said. It's not 90%, but it's way up there. But the CAGR for Bitcoin over the last 5 years is 56.19%. QQQ, NASDAQ, 14%. S&P 500, 13%. Gold, 11%. Again, gold has had its best run in the last 5 years compared to the last 25 years. It's been on a rip because of the concern of fiat around the world. And the last one, negative 5%, is emerging markets stocks. So all in all, gold bugs are having their day in the sun. But no matter how you measure it, gold or Bitcoin still does better. Let's go back to this chart. Bitcoin will catch up. Every dog has its day, which is great. Great for the dogs. And stablecoin market cap keeps going vertical. We just broke $280 billion. All the stablecoins are minting hand over fist. Tether minted $1.25 billion yesterday. Where does that go? Into crypto. And it floats all our boats. So we like it. Another thing that wasn't on my bingo card, but this is kind of impressive. And people get confused. They think I'm talking about market cap. No, I'm talking about staking market cap. That's the amount that an asset has staked. And here, Solana just flipped Ethereum in the staking market cap. Okay, the amount of Solana staked is worth 53.96 billion. Actually, when this was taken yesterday, it's actually worth a lot more than that now because Solana just went up like 5 or 6% or 8%. Anyway, the amount of Ethereum staked is only 53.77 billion versus 54 billion now for Solana. But remember, the market cap of Ethereum is 5 times higher than Solana, but Solana now has more staked, proving proof of stake actually works. And I know it's interesting to watch what will happen next. What's very interesting for me is you have nearly 70% of Solana staked, about 29% of Ethereum is staked. So there's a lot more liquid supply available. But what happens when 8 or 9 more ETFs come and they try to build big bags of Solana? It's going to be a little bit tricky. It's going to be hard because literally you're looking at 30% of liquid available tokens. And the multiplier will be a lot higher. Mark my words. Did a video on that like a week ago, which has some very interesting numbers in it too. And the fastest chain in the world just got faster. If it couldn't get any better, Alpenglow was approved. And the Alpenglow upgrade has a couple of cool little bells and whistles in it. It will replace the proof of history that made Solana famous. And that runs at about 400 millisecond block time for finality. But now the new version will run at Alpenglow will run at 100 milliseconds. And on testnet, 2/3 of the stake finalizes under 50 milliseconds. So it'll get even faster. And the other good thing is it now makes running a validator on Solana a lot cheaper, dropping annual costs from $60,000 down to about $1,000. And this will encourage more people to participate in the network, and it'll blow up decentralization. Anybody out there who's got a technical set of hands and some extra hardware, why don't you fire up a validator? Make some money. Why not? And again, this blockchain is going really fast in one direction. And the vision was always to have a blockchain that can run a stock exchange like a NASDAQ. That was always Toli's vision. Now they got the speed to do that and know where the chain does. Gravity. Gravity will work eventually. You got to wait for the sheeple to catch up. And if it couldn't get any better. And by the way, if these records were being broken in other chains, I'd be mentioning them too. This is not a Solana channel. This is a looking at crypto and how it's revolutionizing the world channel. I don't care which chain it is, but the ones that break the records get mentioned. And tokenization real world assets on Solana just reached an all-time high. Nearly 70,000 people own, on average, $7,000 worth of value in tokenized stocks right now. Over $500 million. So shout out to the 70,000 people who are playing with tokenized stocks right now. And we're still early. It's only, I think, 5 weeks in. Crazy. And crazy good news today. This is well and truly heading into AltSeason. We saw the signs. You've been warned. We saw when ETH started rocking about 6 weeks ago that this thing would really kick off in earnest. And it is. Big time. We're at 61 now. 75 is a proper AltSeason, but we're getting close. And when you look at the performance of the top 50 of the last 30 days, you can see Bitcoin is down just 3.5% over the last 30 days, but everything else is on fire. CRO, Crypto.com had a big role because of some treasury stuff. And then everything else is just green, 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 with the exception of some old stuff. Actually, Sui is down there in the red too. ICP, XLM, Tau, XMR, HBAR, Pengu, all doing pretty bad in what is typically a very good alt season. So if these alts don't do well at this stage of the game, it may not be a good sign. We shall see. And this is a little bit of bad news for the Cardano army. Is from Marty Party, friend of the channel and DCA member. Cardano has indeed been excluded from the new government initiative. There was a lot of excitement. I remember way back when the new administration came in that Charles Hoskinson and others believed there would be a Cardano strategic reserve for the United States. Of course, that was always nonsense, but they were hanging on to dreams and hopes. That didn't happen. But the US government has decided to go in a different direction, and they are choosing select networks like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Tron, Chainlink, Pyth, and Cardano was officially rejected. And then I hear a lot of people saying, oh, there wasn't a specific rejection of XRP, so maybe XRP is still in the running. I don't think so, because David Sachs knows crypto, and he wouldn't choose that. Let's talk a bit about the stocks for a second. Stocks Fear and Greed is 60 versus 49 for crypto. That's pretty high. And let's see what stocks did in August. Nvidia down 2%, Apple up 9%, Google up 12%, Microsoft down 5.5%, Meta down 3.5%, Oracle down 9%. I heard there was huge Oracle layoffs today. They're basically whacking people so they can invest in AI. It's a horrible time. So shout out to anybody out there who is impacted. Hopefully nobody. We'll see. Amazon up 3.74%, Tesla up 8% for the month. So all in all, August was not bad. It was kind of worse for crypto, not that bad for stocks unless you were in certain things. And the reason Nvidia fell was because of the earnings weren't as high as expected. Microsoft going through some stuff too. But either way, we have an AI revolution at hand. View of this is 1,000 years of disruption. This beautiful chart from Bank of America Global Investment Strategy. I would argue CRISPR, I'm not sure if it's mature enough to be on the list, but you can see here we have the big items, from the printing press to the telescope, the steam engine, all the way up to the polio vaccine, the Model T car from Ford, light bulb, word processor. What year was that? It looks like it happened in 1912, but of course a lot later. DVDs, what are they? Hybrid cars, social media, iPhone, Bitcoin, EV, CRISPR technology, AI, and quantum computing. I think quantum computing is jumping the gun a little bit. I would have just left it at AI and I would have made some other changes to this chart. But the point is, be in the narratives early before they change the world. That's the easiest way to invest, always. But be in the winners, not in the dreams, okay? Be in the winners. And shout out to Bill Miller. He is the son of Bill Miller III, the investing legend. And he said, in 20 to 30 years, every company might be a Bitcoin treasury company. We are just getting started. Again, it goes back to what we said before. Nobody wants debt. Nobody wants fiat. It's crumbling pretty fast in different markets around the world. And people will run to that life raft pretty fast. Risk happens fast. And we're seeing cracks that could turn into something pretty bad pretty quick. So seatbelts on, please. Speaking of seatbelts, Tesla Master Plan 4 was released. I did a video last week. I had a 4-point plan. The main theme was abundance, and that's exactly what they did. Tesla will focus on integrating AI with physical products built on its 20-year successful foundation in electric vehicles, energy solutions, and robotics. Remember, the car on wheels is a robot. It drives itself. But the big story, I think, is the Tesla humanoid robot. And it's in limited production right now in 2025. It's going to scale next year, and it's going to be used in factories next year at scale. And their goal is sustainable abundance, which is basically AI-driven solutions to make everybody be able to deal with global challenges. And it coincides as well by sending one of these puppies into Mars. Imagine, so it can start doing some work and building the place out. It's a crazy plan, but never fade Elon is what I say. And what's also important is you play where the puck is going to be. And here clearly said 80% of Tesla's value will be Optimus. Shout out to Omar's catalog, Omar. But basically, like everything else, you start small, you build up assets, and then you reinvest those assets to create things. The biggest investment ever will be this Optimus bot, because it will be the biggest product to ever hit this planet in the history of the world. And Elon is well aware it'll take incredible effort, but he thinks it's possible. They know it's possible. They have all the pieces at their fingertips. They've got the brain, they got the eyes, they got the cameras, they got the actuators, and they're running it all right now. And Jason says in the William podcast, Optimus from Tesla will be the most successful product in the history of humanity. Yes, it will. Sometimes surprising to see how little Jason knows about FSD. I think he has a Tesla, he has FSD, but doesn't understand how it works in Robotaxi. But anyway, we'll see. And for those of you who own a Tesla position, shout out to AJ. He is a very conservative analyst. He just came out with this little projection, which is nice, that within 2 years, we should get to $900 to $1,000. Remember, that's 3x plus from where we are right now in 2 years, by mid-2027. And there's a reason we position ourselves for that. You just got to be patient to get there. And if he says we're getting there, we're probably getting there. Probably a lot higher, too, because he sandbags like myself. All good in the hood. And meme du jour, everybody. Sorry for keeping you late. Big thank you to everybody for coming. The type of support people need. Hold my hand. The type of support I need. I needed the short-term holder realized price to hold for Bitcoin. And it did. That's the type of support I need. So excuse the TA pun. Tapun. Thank you, Super Soul Man, as well, for coming. Cat with a K. Good to see you. Forest, Swiper No Swiping, Dog One, and Yunka. And shout out to Sean D, K8, and everybody else for being here. And people in Wales and Netherlands. Benny's here too. Benny, you're up late. Everybody's up late. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Sorry for being late. We'll be back on schedule tomorrow and have a very interesting video coming up too. All these videos, by the way, are turned into Substacks if you want the slides, the content, or listen to it again, because I go pretty fast. And I hope you amplified your intelligence. Very important in this day and age as well. Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.